So hello and welcome to the ILGL live session. So today it is for module 2 ILGL. So I was telling you there is a surprise. So I'm joined with Prajwal. So Prajwal is an Ekcel Academy student and also is writing ILGL this time. So welcome to the live session, Prajwal.
Thank you, sir. It's always been a pleasure with you. Thank you.
Yeah, so great. So we thought that if a student himself asks a question, it will be very nice. So that is why we have Prajwal. He has already many questions ready. So we can start the live session now.
Yeah, right, sir. Like my first question being, so there are various questions which are related to section 2.
Correct.
In this book actually, IGL. So how to approach, sir, actually?
Yeah, so first thing we should understand what is section 2. So usually in any act, section 2 is the section with the definitions.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
So especially in ILGL, we have the labor law 70 marks and then we have the general laws 30 marks. So in both labor law and general law part, we have this section 2. But one thing which I can tell is, especially in labor law, almost the definitions are very similar for all the chapters. So what you can do is you can make a table. You can make a table and for example, the table will be like, because the definitions are same, like appropriate government, what is child, so like that the definitions are very similar, no? So under each act you make it and you just draw a table. Actually it will not take more than 1 hour for you. Even now it is not like you have exam few days you cannot do, because it will help you when the exam is right the very next day. That is one approach in the labor law.
Yes,
then in general laws also, what you can do is the important definitions, that is section 2 is always definitions. So the important definitions you can just write it down in one sheet and study only that. That is the thing. So here there is Bhaskar, Ramesh Devraj. What is the surprise? So Prajwal is the surprise. So today we have
Ramesh.
Yeah, so that is the reason. So that's a good question. That is the question related to section 2.
Section 2.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Like the other question being, there are various numbers actually. The number being a major part.
Correct.
In this book. So how to approach numbers are actually?
So here also my answer is very similar to what what I told for the previous question. Here also, because number also mean in every chapter you have to remember 6 to 10 different numbers, like within how many days you should file the form, or what is the section number, or penalty provisions, or then percentage like this bonus and all that, gratuity, the percentages, number of years and things like that. So again for that same thing I suggest make a table. It will not take time, you don't have to draw with scale and it need not be neat or something. You can just draw a table for every chapter, the important numbers. Because when you see the book, it look very confusing, and in one page, if you have like for all the chapters in one page, if you have the numbers, you'll know, okay, for this chapter this is the number, for another chapter is different. Otherwise, when we finish everything, we get confused. This is Bonus Act or this is Provident Fund Act, which is the problem. So even now, so what I'm telling, if you sit, it will just take 1 hour for the section number 2 and 1 hour for the numbers. If you sit and write, it is sufficient for you to study. It is more than sufficient.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Like, should we carry a calculator in the exam also? So this being a theory
part? Yeah. So this for this question, what I am remembering is actually in foundation we had a very interesting experience. One small story I would like to share. In foundation we have this economics. So in economics, we were all friends, we were going for classes and all that. Then we all thought economics we will not take calculator. Why do we need calculator for economics? And we went to the exam hall, and then there was one girl who was very studious girl, and she was keeping 2 calculators on her table. Okay, and then we all friends, we were sitting next to each other. So we were just making fun of that girl indirectly, like if my friend Prajwal is sitting there and girl is between. We are telling, Prajwal, did you get calculator? All kinds of jokes. We are making fun of that girl. She was quite simply, she was sitting. Then the exam started. First question is problem. So she just looked at us like this and smiled, that's all. So then we thought we are so foolish, we didn't take calculator. So for ILGL also, please take the calculator. You may feel, why should I take calculator? It's okay. Please take the calculator. Because there may be some, even in the, if you see old question paper, they have asked some question like in bonus and all of that, some percentages, and for calculation, that formula you should know, no? Yes, so take a calculator, there's nothing to harm, just one more stationery.
Like they do not there is no provision like with respect to taking.
Definitely not. In fact, you can take, if it is not a scientific calculator, you can take calculator for all the exams. There is absolutely no restriction. If they ask you, you tell they are going to ask problems in this. That is why we have brought it. They will not be bothered and they will not know much about it.
Like the next question being, is there any difference between part A and part B? Like how to approach difference between part A and part B with respect to IGLs?
For IGL, part A and part B, see, the main thing is in part A, we have the concept relating to labor laws. Correct.
Yes, sir.
So in labor laws, what happens is mainly we have a set pattern. In fact, we have made a video called 13 points, how to study labor law in 13 points. So in every chapter, it is the same pattern which you are going to have.
Okay.
So that is the reason which I always suggest you go for the concept relating to studying those 13 points. So this 13 points is like the definition, the main sections, the penalty, correct? So in every chapter it is the same thing. So if you study in that approach, you can go ahead with that. Then coming to part B is more relating to the law. It is little more hardcore law compared to the part A. So there my suggestion is concentrate more on Constitution of India. That is the first thing. Very important, though it is only for 30 marks, entire part B, many times they give you more than 10 marks in just Constitution of India. Yes, and then apart from that, you will be also having this one, interpretation of statutes. If you know that, they may ask for 2-3 marks, but then that concept is very important. You have to study that. We have a video for that also. We will be sharing that. Then the procedural aspects is in CPC and CRPC. So it is all about procedure. So try to understand the practical procedure which is there in that particular chapter. So is showing as error is, do we still have a problem? Sunaina Aneja, I am unable to watch as it is showing error. So if people are able to watch, so just say hi or something, we'll be able to understand. 1 second. So are you able to see, like if anybody is able to see, you can just reply. So there is a link, it was shared, so you have to click on that, I guess. So there's some small technical issue. So I think we can continue. I guess others are able to see. If others are able to see, you can just reply, but we'll just continue.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, like moving further.
Yes.
Like up to what extent should we study case studies, sir? Case study is also being a major part in this.
Yes, so case study, what happens is in case study mainly what you should understand is that even in the problems they are asking some case studies. They'll give an imaginary case, there is Mr. A, Mr. B, A bequeaths land to B, then what happens, they're asking such kind of problems. So case studies, my suggestion is in the study material whatever is there, even if you can cover like half of it, it is more than sufficient. Don't waste too much time also because there is very little time now. Okay. So if you study even half of those case studies, it is more than sufficient. Study material is more than sufficient.
So yes. Could you please give me a guideline with respect to important chapters in the ILGL, sir?
Yes. So ILGL important chapters, first we come to labor law. Yes. So in labor laws, there are 5 important chapters which sometimes they ask 35 marks, almost half of it. 19 chapters are there. But then in 19 chapters, almost these 5 chapters, they ask most of the questions. So that is Factories Act, then we have the Provident Fund Act, then Workmen's Compensation Act, Industrial Disputes Act and the Apprenticeship Act. These are very important, not like others are not. So if you concentrate on these 5, sometimes 30 to 35 marks is just from these 5 chapters. And after that you can go to the rest of the chapters. So our rest are all in the pretty much same bracket, we can tell.
Like if I have not approached any case study right now, So should I concentrate on these chapters which you have?
Yes, so what chapters we discussed now in this case studies you can
Is also-
we can study. Of course, in Factories Act there are not much case studies. It is more about registration and procedure and what is that health, safety and welfare measures.
Yes.
But in the other chapters you do have case study, and also this Bonus Act, Gratuity Act, sometimes they do ask case study. You can study that.
Alright, so thank you. Like prior to examination, what should I do, sir? Should I actually study for in the study material, or should I solve MCQ, sir?
So my suggestion would be, if you are prepared well already once, if you study MCQs, it is good. But at least for, like, if you, let us say before exam you have 8 hours or 10 hours time.
Yes, sir.
In that, my suggestion is 50% time you solve the MCQs, because if you already prepared well, now the test is how do I select the correct answer out of the 4. So that is the test. So that is the reason why you need to make sure that you go through the concepts which are there in the MCQ. Then you can just revise quickly in this subject. One more thing I tell, this subject is actually easy, so you should try to score above 60, because you might not expect exactly in CMSL or account, sometimes you might not get what you expect. So that is why this subject is easy. Also many students are neglecting it. So better you study it seriously, and it is possible to do it.
So if I'm studying for the first time, what should I do? So should I go for part A or part B first?
For means like for revision or
No, like I'm approaching the subject for the first time.
Then it is definitely part A, simply because it is easier to understand and you'll get confidence. If I know 70 marks, then I can easily study 30 marks. But if you see syllabus wise, it's almost 50-50.
Yes.
But marks wise, it is 70 marks labor law, 30 marks is general law. So my suggestion is always finish labor law. And also in labor law, every chapter has the same pattern.
Yes, sir.
Same pattern means every chapter is having the same concepts also. So that is the reason you should approach that. Yes, so what is the next question which you are having?
So like Constitution being a very important chapter,
Yes.
I have not at all approached for at least for the one time now. So
Okay.
what would be your suggestions? So how should I go for Constitution of India?
Constitution, yeah, so before I come to that, so we have missed quite a few comments. So yes, so there is Venkat, Vaishnavi, Ramesh, Harish, Shanbog. So we'll come to all of you, so please don't worry. Now we have questions which is prepared on behalf of students by Prajwal. So once we complete that, we will be doing it. Yes.
So like Constitution being important chapter, how to approach Constitution of
Yeah, so Constitution of India in part P, I always suggest first to start with Constitution of India. In the Constitution of India, first you go for the Article 14 and that entire series of freedom, Article 19, Article 21, go through the main articles first. After that you come to Directives, Principles of State Policy. Then after that you come to the Article 12, that is what is a state, you come to that. Then you go for like what is habeas corpus, writs, you come to that. So if you finish this part, these are the 4 important parts. After that you can concentrate on others, because it's a pretty big chapter. You may feel how do I do it and things like that. So you can do that.
Like the other part is the interpretation is being like if we read once, we cannot be able to understand in layman. It is not in a layman's language actually.
Correct.
So there are most of the difficult part is only technical words are being adopted here. So how to approach that?
Yeah, so first thing, let us try to understand what is interpretation of statutes. So we'll come to Harish Shanbag, just 1 second. How to score more than 60 in ILGL, we'll come to that. So he's asking a good question in the interpretation of statutes. What is interpretation? Interpretation is nothing but the language of the law which should be used by the people who decide cases, like the judges. The first person to whom this is useful is to the judges. So for every other chapter we have an act, correct? We have Constitution of India, we have all the labor acts, so many 18, 19 labor acts are there. Then we have CPC, we have CRPC, all of that is there. Interpretation is like a language. So that is why, if you like it or not, you cannot make it simple, especially the words, you cannot make it simple. Like you have these Latin words, ejusdem generis, all these nocesatoros, all these words we have. So the words you cannot make it simple, but try to understand what is interpretation. Just think like this. It is a dictionary for the judge. Simple. For judge to decide something, he needs a dictionary, he needs some guidance, he needs some principles. So that is interpretation of statutes. So to study this again, you start with the first one, the literal rule, which is the most simple, or what we call it as golden rule also. So that is the first thing. If you understand that, then you can go to the other rules one by one.
So if I start a part B, so should I keep this interpretation as a last part of it or a first part of it, sir?
When you start part B, my suggestion is always constitution, then interpretation. Then go to others, because when you read interpretation, you will also know how to interpret the other chapters. Because that gives you the rules of how to read the law. Actually, ideally, should be the first chapter. When you come to CS, that should be first chapter according to me, because that tells you how do we read a law subject, how do we read an act. So that should be the thing. Yes, so we have Bhakti Shah. Is there any amendment? So I'll take that question from Bhakti Shah now, then we'll come back to Prajwal. So Bhakti Shah, there are some amendments. Especially we have the Maternity Benefit Act, correct? So in Maternity Benefit Act, we have the amendments, and the amendments are relating to the maternity benefit period. So it was earlier 12 weeks, now it has been made 26 weeks. And then also if there is a adoption, even for adoption now we have maternity benefit can be taken, and maternity benefit can be taken only for 2 children. For the 3rd child, there is no maternity benefit. You can take the holiday if you have 3rd child, but you cannot take, you will not get the salary, and the maternity benefit you will not get from the company. That is the Maternity Benefit Amendment Act. This is very important. In fact, even Prime Minister announced it in the Parliament that our country is just like, see, everyone used to tell you European countries it is very good for maternity benefit, but now even we are having a very good provision relating to maternity benefit. Yes, 26 weeks, Bhaskar, correct. So how to remember case studies in ILGL, Sonali Padi. So you don't have to remember everything. My suggestion is in every chapter at least remember 1 or 2. So that is not very difficult. So related to some kind of a story, then you will be able to remember it. Can I skip first chapter, Ramesh? You can skip, but you'll also, your questions will also have to skip in the exam, because there is no option, right? You 100 questions means you have to attend the 100. Even in other papers, you have a paper is set for 120 marks, so 20 marks is optional. So Ramesh, Devraj, if you want to, you can, but you will not be able to attend. Every chapter there will be at least 2 to 3 questions minimum, average if you take. So if you miss that, you will not be. And if it is a important chapter, you can't. So first chapter means, I think, is telling about Factories Act. Please don't miss. Sometimes 7 to 8 marks is asked in Factories Act, so you cannot miss the Factories Act. Okay, I am not able to see you. Why? Others are able to see, so I will just type over here. So I hope others are able to see. Yes, so if you can see, you can just say yes, so that we will know what is happening. Yeah, so then any questions? Prajwal is having more questions.
Like the first chapter is always been a very important chapter, as you said, sir. Like it's almost being somewhere around 50 pages now.
Correct.
Like there are various, like they approach about employees as also with workers.
Correct.
So what is your suggestion with respect to first chapter?
That is the Factories Act. See, in Factories Act, sometimes you feel it's boring because it is too much of information. We have this, especially that health, safety, welfare measures. If you go on reading, you must have they will give 4.5 meters, then you must have this. There, you please don't worry to study each one in detail with those meters and all that. Just overall, what are the important things? What is safety officer? What is welfare officer? What is the area which is required to be given? What is the washroom facilities? When we should give creche? Such things you remember, the main things. If you go in detail, they are telling from the main machine it should be so far and things like that. So that is difficult. So everybody is saying yes, so you can see me. So others, you can just refresh your page. I'm sure you can see it. Yes, so Okay. Then any other questions?
Like the other chapter being the Dispute Act, Industrial Dispute Act.
Yes.
So what is your approach with respect to that, sir?
So in Industrial Dispute Act, first thing is concentrate on definition of industry.
Right.
So definition of industry is the bulk. In that we have the Bangalore water supply case
Yes.
versus A. Rajappa, right?
Yes.
So that case, if you know, you have the triple test in that particular case.
Yes, sir.
So if you know the triple test properly, that means you know what is the meaning of industry. Second important thing is what is industry, what is not industry. For that in the book you remember 5 points each for what is industry, what is not industry, because they have given some 20 points over there. It is difficult. After you study that, then you study the registration procedure. Then you have this section 18, 19, 20. According to me, don't study. It is too confusing and they hardly ask any questions. So if you have already studied, you can revise, but you have not yet studied, now you want to touch section 18, 19, 20, those things, it's okay, don't worry. But then again go to the penalties and that section you have to study. So concentrate, though it's a big chapter, concentrating on what is definition of industry, first part. Then after that you can go for the concepts relating to the other parts which I told you is what is industry, what is not industry. Then you can go to penalties and the other miscellaneous provisions. Yes. Anything else you had in mind? Yeah, so okay, great. So now we will start taking the questions which is there live over here. So quite a few of you are Bhakti Shah, case laws. Again, penalty very difficult to remember. Can we skip it? In some papers they have asked case and penalty for 16 to 17 marks. So question answer both is in your comment. Correct. They asked 16 to 17 marks. You cannot miss it. So if you remember, if there was some technical problem, I don't know, I'll repeat. Prajwal also had the same question. Make a table, because in every page if you be flipping, you will not have time. In just one sheet, take a big sheet or take two A4 sheets which is of this size. A4 sheet this size is there. Take two sheets, one next to each other. There you make a table. Under each chapter you make the important numbers, important penalties, like that. So in one sheet you will get everything. That is first option. Second option is, in the description of this video we have made that video like 13 points, labor law in 13 points. We also given you example for 2-3 chapters, Maternity Benefit Act, Equal Remuneration Act. There are 4 videos in that series. So you can click on that playlist and watch that, then you will know how you can make the points. Yes, you might not be able to make 13 points for all the chapters, but at least what you can do is the penalties and the numbers, those things you can make even now. Let me tell you, 1 hour is enough. If you sit even now, it is possible. So if we just that, if you are being lazy, you feel, oh, again I have to write now I don't have time to make notes, now I have to revise. Not at all. 1 hour many times you will spend in WhatsApp, Facebook and other places. Yes. So Ramesh, there industrial dispute is hell. Yes, industrial dispute is hell even for industry and for student who is studying also. So there we have this lockouts. So yes, I forgot to tell that lockout, strike, very, very important. In strike, what is justified strike, what is unjustified strike, those concepts you should know. Then lockout. Actually it is interesting. Just imagine in a real life situation how it will happen. It is easy to remember. So what is lockout? It is the weapon in the hands of the employer. What is strike? Weapon in the hands of the employee. That is very basic. But if you go in detail, what is justified, what is unjustified, when there can be lockout, will there be wages during lockout, things like that. Just imagine yourself, you are the employee. And if that happens, what is the first thing you will ask? When will I get my salary? Will I get medical benefit? If I am suspended, when will I be taken back? Imagine like that. For everyone there is one answer over there. That's all. It is as simple as that. It is not so difficult. Okay. Creches in Maternity Benefit Act and Factories Act is different. Yes, it is different because they are different acts. So if that, for some companies only Maternity Benefit Act may be applicable, for some other companies Industrial Dispute Act may be applicable. If there is a company where both are applicable, you should apply, again go back to interpretation of statutes, harmonious rule of interpretation. Matlab, there is one rule in one act, one more rule in another act. We should give the meaning which will give meaning to both the acts. Suppose I'll give you an example. They say creche. Creche is required where every 30 women employees are there. They'll tell. Then one more act they'll say where every 50 women employees is there. So if both acts applicable to you, you should have a creche where there is 30 women employees.
Employees.
You cannot say another act there is 50, so now I will not have, this act is telling 50. When we apply both the acts, you should give meaning to it in interpretation of statutes. Harmonious. Harmonious means the meaning should come out which is harmonious to both the acts. So if you have a creche with 30 women employees, obviously you are having a creche with even 50 women employees automatically. So that is what you should do. Yes, so I have not been able to read some of your comments since I was talking, but again we'll go. Riddhi Bhavsar, sir, I read labor law, general law 2 to 3 times, and labor law 80% remembering and general law remembering 60%. Then there is some need to solve old question paper in such, there is some need to solve in such a short time. MCQ. Yes, you can solve it. You can just take the old question paper MCQ. It is available in icsi.edu. Just go to Google, you type ICSI old question paper international general law, you'll get it. Or if you have those pink books, guideline answers, from there you can refer. Or if you have scanner, from there you can refer. Nothing you have, at least behind your textbook there are some MCQs, that also you can refer. So you can refer. So if you have good, you are remembering 80%, 60% means good, it is time for you to come to MCQ. So how can I study civil procedure core where terminology was very difficult? See, terminology is actually not too much is there. Actually the whole book is like 15-20 pages over there. So there are some terminologies you try to remember at least 5. If not everything, 5 you remember. We always think there is 20, how to remember everything, and we don't remember anything. Better remember at least 5 and understand the concept. In the exam, if I got terminology, you write the concept, it's okay. But here it's MCQ. You don't have to write, so you don't have to worry for that. If you know what is it, you will be able to select the answer properly. Correct? Yes. So how do I revise? I have completed 2 times but not that much remembered. That means you are not remembering. We'll come to that. Romita, if the answer for a question, what is that? 712.5, then we have options 712, none of the above, which is right. So that is very rare it will happen like that. If it happens like that, you select 712, not none of the above, because whatever is closest you can select. Okay. Harish Shanbok, Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act, is it important? See, it is very difficult to tell because you have 100 questions. At least 2 to 3 questions is asked in every single chapter. So let us look at it like this, Harish. 70 marks, 19 chapters are there. Correct. So even if I do 19 into 4, 76. Correct. So I cannot really leave anything. And this industrial standing orders, right? That is what he asked. It is not very difficult act. So in standing orders, remember one thing, Harish, it is all about model standing orders. So the government gives you one format like model standing orders and you can adopt it. So that is what you should know primarily. Other things are simple. Nana Saheb Jadhav, again a regular person who is coming to our live. I have read CPC 2 times and I solved 150 MCQ. Is it sufficient? It is more than sufficient. It is great. If you have studied 2 times and MCQ, if you are getting the right answers, 150 is great because end of the day you will get 3 to 4 questions. So if you have solved 100, more than 100 for every chapter, it's really amazing. Yes. So GST session, yes, we have GST session 5:30 today. So we are going to have that session. You can join us again. We'll give you another link for that. You can join the GST session. Yes, then I've prepared only from scanners. Can I clear? I don't know whether you can clear if you studied only from scanner. But my logic is simple. This is multiple choice question paper. And this is relatively easy. To be frank, in all 7 papers in executive present, this is the easiest. If it is easy, you should study more and try to get 60. That should be your objective. Instead of, okay, it's easy.
So 70%.
We will study later. That will not work out.
So as per statistics, around 70% clear this.
Exactly. So what Prajwal is telling is relating to our institute who has given the statistics. Everybody passes this paper, but not everybody get above 60.
Above 60.
So above 60, if you want to get, it is possible. In fact, somebody asked that question, how to get above 60. How to get above 60, first thing is you should be very well prepared with all the chapters. And then when you, in the MCQ, when you get doubt, if you are well prepared, I have one tip for you. If you are well prepared, I am repeating it, the first answer comes to your mind is the correct answer. because you are prepared. If you are not prepared, then you will get confused. So if you want to change your answer, then you should have a strong reason. Otherwise, if you have studied, the first answer comes to your mind is the correct answer, that I can assure you. Second thing, if you don't know the answer, you start eliminating the answers. Start eliminating the answers. And don't do, some students, previous question B's answer, now I will put C. Those things you should not at all try. That is not the correct approach. Yes, so sir, help to get 60 above in ILGL. Chirag Rana. So Chirag, that is what I am telling you. No, you study all the chapters, solve the MCQs, pass 5 papers, 6 papers, solve all the MCQs. And then if you don't know at all, don't attempt. That is 4 to 5 questions, you take a chance and attempt, because maximum you will lose 1 mark. For every 4 wrong answers, you will lose 1 mark. So you can actually try, even when you are in doubt, according to me, you can try 8 to 12. 8 to 12 answers, even if you are in doubt, you go for a chance by elimination, by seeing what is logically correct, even if you are not getting the answer. But more than that, don't attempt if you don't know. So if you know 60 correct answers, you write 60. Another 10 to 12, you take the chance. But more than that, don't take the chances, my thing. Because 60 is correct, very good. 40 is wrong. Then what will you do? You will get very less marks. Though 60 is correct, you will get minus 20. So it will be a big problem. Yes. So Bhavesh Joshi, 82. Somebody's got 82. So it is definitely possible to get above 60. It is not at all difficult. This is when it is easy. Again, I'm telling you, make sure you get above 60 when it is easy. Even now you have the time, because other papers, accounts and CMSL, even if you get 45, 50 or 40 also, it will have an aggregate of 150, all the 3 papers together. Yes. So there's one more. Prachi says she got 63. Great. In fact, some students, they have even told in our comments, they have got exemption in ILGL. Now they're writing only CMSL and accounts, but they're thinking, how do I get 100 now in these 2 subjects? So if you have got exemption and taken it, you can't help it. But otherwise, some students are not taking exemption. So Nana Saheb, I got ECL 74, very good, but that is not MCQ. Great. So everybody is just telling what is their marks. Great. So Sandeep, sir, may I know important chapters of part A and part B to secure 60 marks? So Sandeep, I will repeat it. Most important, first, Factories Act. Second, we have the Provident Fund. Third, we have the Workmen's Compensation. Fourth, we have Industrial Disputes. Fifth, we have Apprenticeship Act. So these are very important. This 30 to 35 marks will come. Everything else I cannot say which is second important, third important. Everything else is second important only. It is the thing. So out of 19 chapters you go. Some people, they will not study 19th chapter. It is audit, sir, what it is waste. But sometimes I have asked two questions on that. And it is dead easy. To be frank, if you are not touched also, you open the book now, 40 minutes you can finish that chapter. And there is no sections, legal provisions, etc. So the part B, Constitution of India. Then we have the Code of Civil Procedure. Then we have the Specific Relief. So these are important chapters which you should know, apart from interpretation of statutes. So if you concentrate on this, others, if you give little lesser importance, it is sufficient. 100% you can get above 60, provided you have studied well. Yes, so for last day revision, is scanner sufficient? Yes, if you have studied thoroughly so far and you are telling me you have solved 150 MCQ just for one chapter only. If your preparation is good, tomorrow is exam. Today I will solve only the scanner, only the old question paper. That is more than sufficient if your preparation is good. Good question. So Prachi, sir, come live for CMSL. Yes, we are planning it. Just give us little time. We will do it. So Parul Tyagi, sir, how to read question paper and how to understand the questions asking positive aspects or negative. So Parul, actually your question is good. After this live, and we will leave a link in the description below. We can leave it now also. That link is basically how to read the question. I have made on 30 minutes video. That is actually for company law, but the logic is same even for any subject. So you can watch that video. You will know how to read the question, because if you read the question properly, half the battle is won. And half the battle is won, the other half is just to write the answer. Okay. We don't have much time. Please come soon. Yes, we will. We understand. I totally understand your concern. We will do it. So Dhaval, both modules are one at a time. So that is not related to this subject, but again it depends on how much time you have for preparation. If you're writing December, you're a full-time student, write both the modules. But if you're working or you're going to college, it may be a little difficult for you. You go for one module. But that is very personal decision. It is difficult for me to tell. Each one is very unique. Each one understanding is different. Each one time is different. Each one's availability, like how much time you have for study is different. Suppose you're in a family situation, you're married and you might not have time to study. Like we have some students like that. Or if you're going for job, again it's difficult. If you're going for college, it's a little more difficult. Full-time student, you can take both modules. 1 minute class for constitution. I think we have 1 or 2 concepts we already have. So we will be adding some more for that. So thank you, sir. Nana Sahib, we owe you. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Interpretation of statutes. How to read that chapter easily. So I can tell you one thing. We have 2 videos where Rajesh sir has made it. So first watch that. First video is very nice. It is just some 12 to 15 minutes or something. That's all. The first video, you watch that. It is very beautifully explained. After that, you go with interpretation of statutes. What is the literal rule? As I already told, go for literal rule first. After literal rule, you can go for ejus dem generis, etc. Then you try to understand the internal aids and external aids. And before everything, first try to understand what is it. It is a guidebook. It is a dictionary for the judge before he understands the law, before he interprets the law. So if you understand that, you will be able to know what is interpretation. So if you know the internal aids and external aids, you can understand everything else easily. In module, certain topics have large content like learning, everything is difficult. So can you explain what must be in-depth of the answers? So this is actually MCQ, there is no in-depth or anything like that. So we already left that, in the comment we have that link to that video, you can see that. Parul, sir, sometimes questions come to negative statements, so they are asking for positive aspects. So I really didn't understand that question, but again I request you watch that video, how to read the question. So there you will understand that easily. So I think we are done with our time. In fact, we have extended our time. We had questions from Prajwal, we had questions from so much. So in another 20-25 minutes, we have the GST live session. So we have Company Secretary Subodh sir who will be joining us for GST live. Many people have asked us GST and some people are threatening us, please do CMSL very quickly. So we will do, we understand you have exams close by. So thank you very much for joining us, and special thanks from me for Prajwal. Though he's studying for exam, he came for this session and hope it was useful for you also.
It was a very useful.
Yeah, so great. So thank you very much, and very soon we will be joining for the GST session.